Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited beliefs, situationships, and relationships. Let's get into it today. No contact versus fighting for the relationship. A term I've never liked. It comes up a lot in the breakup industry, if you call it that now on YouTube. And it's just one of those things. What are you fighting for? So we're going to get into that today. It comes up a lot when you're in the middle of a breakup. One of the hardest things to do is no contact, and your reasoning for no contact. Why are you doing it? It's very important because a lot of times people get it twisted. Well, then I'll do it and then she'll come back. The idea is that she'll come back. Not really. So I've got it numbered here on the sidelines in the chat. And number one, negotiations are off. That's why you do no contact in the beginning. Negotiations are off. We've been going back and forth. We can't agree on anything. We can't meet halfway on the bridge. You're angry. I'm sad. You're sad. I'm angry. We're just not working out. Negotiations are off. Nothing's working. Number two, I'm done. Too much wreckage on the road. Too many problems. Too many issues. Too many, you did this. I said that. You just aren't seeing eye to eye on anything. Number three, same negative results and patterns. You get to this point where you're just like, I'm tired. I'm done. We've gone over this many times. A narrative that people tell me about a lot. Someone cheated, which is a bad thing, which the other person says, yeah, we can work on it. Yeah, this and that. But for a year, 2 years, they just keep bringing up whenever you're in a fight, and they drop that card on the table and they say, remember when you cheated? And then it just becomes a win-lose game and an argument that had nothing to do with you cheating. And so those kinds of patterns with the same results, the same negativity, the same anger, when you break up, it's like, what do you have to negotiate over? Most relationships, you have negotiations. You negotiate different things. You negotiate who drives to dinner. You negotiate the place you eat at dinner. These are all things. And sometimes someone just runs the show. But regardless, when you get into no contact, nothing's working. It's negotiations are off. Number four, they broke up with you. Don't be the traveling salesman. Don't be knocking on the door 100 times. It is not attractive. It is pity seeking. If it works out of pity, and it's short term. If they broke up to you, the best thing to do, please play this twice. Accept it. Number one, accept that reality. It's actually attractive rather than talking them out of it. There are certain special circumstances that maybe you guys need to talk a little bit more. They jump to some conclusions. But if they flat out broke with you, they took all their stuff, they've moved out, that's not just breaking up. That's actionable breakup. Breaking up where you kind of had it out in the parking lot and you had an emotional day and they've had a bad week and things are tough at work and they overreacted. Okay, but they grabbed their stuff, they moved out. What's the other option? To chase? To be the annoying salesman? Number five, friends isn't an option. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we could just be friends. Maybe things will just get better once we, down the road. But for now, we can be friends as an option. Friends isn't an option because that's a lie. If you're going to be honest with yourself, no contact. Number six, cat pawing is over. What is a cat? Some people post breakup, they play with you. They play with you. Oh, today we can go, but tomorrow we can't. Oh, I actually have another date. Or actually, I'm talking to this other person. They're cat pawing the hell out of you. They're playing with you. You're a backup plan. And the thing is, you think you're still primary, but you're just working on things. No contact if cat pawing is over. Let's just review that. Negotiations off. I'm done. Number three, same negative results and patterns. They broke up with you. Friends isn't an option. Cat pawing is over. Fighting for the relationship. Okay, this is one that gets me a lot. And it comes up a lot. It's just a narrative. It's something that people have read on some blog or some YouTube channel that, fighting for the relationship becomes this big narrative. What does that even mean? Describe what you mean by fighting for the relationship. What does that entail? Well, fighting for the relationship. What does that even mean? The problems feel fixable with time. Now, that's a situation where fighting for the relationship, okay, There's a problem. Maybe there's money issues. That's the problem. You're really working towards getting a new job. You just got 2 more months at your internship, and then you'll get a job where you're making 50K, 100K a year. And the problem's fixable with time. That would be fighting for the relationship with an admirable stance on it. Number 2, progress is being made. When you guys meet up and you're broke up, but you're fighting for the relationship, there's progress being made. You're feeling better about things. The meetups are getting better and better. The dates are getting better and better. Number 3, and this is probably the most important, okay? This is probably the most important one. You still have attraction for each other. Now, people a lot of times lose track of this one. If you're fighting for the relationship and there's not a lot of attraction left, you've been together 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and post breakup, they don't want to kiss you, they don't want to hug you, they don't want to touch you too much, chances are the attraction's gone. They don't want to hook up anymore. They look at you with a little like that. If you still have attraction and it's evident, fighting for the relationship will go well with that. Again, clarify what fighting for the relationship is, because sometimes fighting for the relationship really is them cat-pawing you, playing with you, or keeping you on the sidelines as the backup quarterback. Hey, until I meet someone else, I'll be fishing in this hole, and this hole, no pun intended, and I'll just see which one catches me the biggest fish. What a great position to be in. Hey, you need to fight for the relationship, but in the meantime, I have other options. Number 4, you're still hooking up. If you're not hooking up and you're fighting for the relationship, where's the reward? Where's the progress being made? Number 5, they don't keep saying, I want you to fight for the relationship. If they keep that narrative up, and that's like a repeated thing, what they're doing is they're just reaffirming, hey, I really like this position where you fight for the relationship because it validates me, because it makes me feel good. But I don't really want you back. I still want to be single. Number 6, it's clear they want this to work. So they want to get back with you. They want things to get better. They aren't dating others while fighting for the relationship. That's a big one. It's a big one, right? It's like, oh, I've been fighting for this relationship. Just found out she was on a date with another guy. Don't fight for that. You went from 3, 4, 5 years of a relationship to now competing. That's competing. Okay. Now, some people out there, well, I'm up for the competition. All right. So how does your mind decipher that? Think about that for a minute. Let's break this down for a minute. And a lot of people, and if they don't break it down, they don't understand it completely. But when you break it down, you're like, oh shit. You're together 3, 4, 5 years. You come across a Instagram post where they're hanging out with some guy at a pizza parlor or something like that. Whatever. Okay. I hear it all the time. The Instagram post, the social media post, it happens all the time. It is what it is. And you're in the process of fighting for the relationship. You're doing the right things. You're showing care. You're showing love. But they get a date? Well, you can date too. So what are you guys doing here? If you're in a gray area post breakup and you've been together for years, with an S, not years, you've been together for a while, it's very hard for the mind to turn off, hey, that's my girlfriend in the picture with that other dude. But you know what? I'm fighting for the relationship right now while they're going out with other people, which you're allowed to do too, right? But if you stay in contact and you're working on the relationship, fighting for the relationship, but you're allowed to see other people, it's a major conflict of interest, because when you see that picture or you get wind that they're seeing someone else, it's a gut punch. It's 1,000 needles in your side. And you're acting like, oh, it's cool. And now you're in a position, whoever first, think about this for one moment, whoever first starts seeing someone or meets someone they actually like and then goes, well, you know what? I told you I was single. What happened to me fighting for the relationship? So let's just go back through those really quick. Fighting for the problems feel fixable with time. Okay, this is when there's an alcohol or drug problem and someone goes into rehab. That's a fixable problem that's going to take some time. That's fighting for the relationship. That's not just doing it for the relationship, it's doing it for you, but there's some kind of work being done in time. Progress is being made. You still have attraction for each other. They still want to sleep with you. They still look at you in the eyes and have a little soft sparkle when they look at you. You're still hooking up. Maybe not all the time, maybe not as much as you like. You do. They want to hug you. They want to hold you. They don't keep saying, I want you to fight for the relationship. Number 6, it's clear they want this to work. Number 7, they aren't dating others while you're fighting for the relationship. That's a big one. So I've had this happen a lot. It's like, it's kind of be one of the more painful things. You're in the gray area. You're fighting for the relationship. You're kind of dating. You don't know where you stand. You're in this medium area. One of the people in that situation, in that gray area, post-breakup, cares less. One person's chasing the other person more. The person that cares less rules the situation. And the person that's seeing multiple people is saying, wow, I'm single right now. And whenever I want to go back to my ex who still cares about me and loves me and validates me, I can do that if this dating game's not fun. So that's where no contact comes in. And if you feel like the problem isn't fixable, for example, you keep getting accused of, well, that time you cheated on me 2 years ago, and that comes up over and over and over and over and over again. And you've said sorry 1,000 times and you've done everything you can. It's time to go no contact. That problem isn't fixable. That wound's not healable for that person. And that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. Stop getting catpawed. All right? Stop being the backup quarterback. Number 2, progress is being made. If progress isn't being made and you're like, wow, we go out, we don't hook up, feels like we're just friends, feels like we're not elevating back to getting back together, no contact. You still have attraction for you. You feel when you go out, it's just not there. They just aren't showing you those signs that they want to hook up, that they want to kiss, that they want to hang out after the ball game, that they want to hang out after you go to dinner. Right? It's kind of like when you're right with your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, partner, when you're right, you go out to eat, they say, hey, do you want to come up after, hon? Do you want to come to my apartment? They want to see you afterwards, or you immediately are like, hey, I'll come over to the house after. If you're not having that happen and you're just going out to eat and then dropping them off and they're being kind of cold with you, you can do that for a little in the name of fighting for the relationship. But if it's just not making any kind of progress, there's a possibility there's no attraction there right now. Doesn't mean you look bad. It means that maybe the feelings that they have for you are just not there. And if you're fighting for the relationship without having attraction built in, it's going to be really tough. Right? And I'll ask clients this. I'll be like, well, do you feel attracted to them still? Or they feel attracted to you still? Are you guys... And you can tell by, they'll be like, oh no, they're still, because they want to kiss, they want to hug, they want to do these things. Number 4, you're still hooking up. If you're not still hooking up and you're hanging out for 4 months, right? 5 months, fighting for the relationship, but you're not still hooking up at some point, go no contact. They don't keep saying, I want to fight for the relationship. They keep this narrative in their head. They keep bringing it up. If they've said that once and they don't bring it up again, great. If they say it every time you meet up or every time you fight, that means that that's just a continued pattern for them. Go no contact. Number 6, it's clear they want this to work. If they don't want it to work, they'll find all the reasons it won't. Oh, it just won't work because you live too far away. Oh, it won't work because, all you ever do is care about your family and put them before me. Oh, it won't. They have all these reasons. They've built this case and they can't let it go. They typecasted you as this person that they'll never get back with. Go no contact. They aren't dating others while you're fighting for the relationship. That's a big one. They are dating others while you're in the relationship. They're openly like, yeah, I went on a date. I'm single, but please keep fighting for the relationship. Go no contact. Dignity, self-respect. It's really hard. But probably the most painful thing someone can do in 2023, and correct me if I'm wrong, put it in the comments, say whatever you want. You're broken up and they're on social media, Instagram, Snapchat stories, hanging out with some other person, and you're supposed to go, well, I'll fight. No, in the back of your head, that's my girl. Your mind can't process, yeah, it's cool, whatever, I can let it go. I'll compete with this guy. The minute your mind goes there, you get really angry, you get really upset, you start saying, oh, this guy's a loser, this guy's a chump, this guy doesn't make any money. You go and do a background check, which is really easy on the internet with social media. You start doing all these things, and then before you know it, what does that do for you? Does that make you feel more valuable, or does that make you try harder? Go no contact. If your ex is seeing other people post breakup and you guys are hanging out at the same time, the problem with that, maybe you can do it for a little bit. The problem with that, if you get back together, which is a possibility, every relationship's different. When you get back together, that'll still linger. Oh, yeah, Todd, I only went out with him a few times. Yeah, he just texted me. I don't know why. He just said Merry Christmas. Oh, he's just saying happy birthday. And you're like, that's the Todd that you used to go out with when we were in that gray area? Yeah. So you guys still are in contact? No, well, just a little bit. We just say what's up. The mind goes back into that. The mind starts flipping out. You get all spun. You get all worked up. And now you are upset with them. You have a situation. You guys don't talk for 2 or 3 days. You see where I'm going with this? People always, I want them back. I want them back. Careful what you wish for, because usually within 6 months or a year, a lot of times, if those problems aren't cleared up, or you pulled some crap where you made them work so hard to get back with you, you hooked up with other people, that when you get back together, they're bitter. They're a little upset. Does that make sense? It's really hard. But people get caught in this thing where they're like, I don't want to go no contact. I don't want to not do that. I want to fight for the relationship. There's a period where you can fight for the relationship. Know what you're fighting for and why. If you did something flat out wrong, right? You did something that you regret, you feel guilty about, and you deserve to be in trouble for that. You deserve to be in the doghouse, right? Well, then fine. Okay, that might be a period where you fight for the relationship, right? Where you're like, you know what? I want to be better. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be a better man or a better woman for you. That's fine. But progress is being made. You still have attraction. You're still hooking up. All right? That's fine. There's a shelf life on that, though, where you got to go no contact, where there's no progress, and they're just raking over the coals over and over again until they meet someone equal or higher value. And it's really easy these days. It's really easy these days, right? Someone just told me, and they wouldn't mind me mentioning this, but they were saying that they went single. This was a couple years back. They went single out of a breakup where the guy cheated. And this is, and here's a big one now. With text messaging and video, people that have cheated, they not only cheated, but the evidence of their cheating is on text and on video sometimes. And the person they cheated with is sending that to their girlfriend or husband or wife. This is happening a lot. It's happening over and over again. Those kinds of situations, they're hard to come back for because it's double trouble. And I'll tell you why. The mind's visual. People are highly visual. They get that information and they torture themselves and read the text again, watch the video again. And it's really hard for them to get over that. And it's embarrassing because not only did you find out they're cheating, they've been lying to you, but the person they're cheating with is throwing it in your face, right? There's so many different angles to that mangles the human mind. Okay. And so when you get to that point, maybe you're going to fight for that relationship and be sorry and be in the doghouse for a month. That's fine. But if there's no progress being made and they got a dating app out and they're dating, Someone just told me recently, they were like, look, when that happened to me, I went on a dating app and I had 50 dates in 3 months. Now, everyone out there is going, wow, what a promiscuous individual. Not really, because post breakup, sometimes people are just looking for validation. This individual told me, she was like, I didn't sleep with all those guys. I just wanted to go out on dates. Curiosity, maybe. Validation, probably. But also in those 50 dates, you're also straining through a lot of bad behavior on these dating apps where it's like, oh, dating's so bad, right? But this is what happens now. These are some of the different things that happen, right? These are real things that happen. And really, the strongest way you can come about it, right, is to go into no contact. You can be sorry. You did something wrong. You can fight for the relationship. It's fine, but there's got to be an expiration date on that. And there's got to be a point where you're like, I'm done with you playing with me. I'm done with being the backup. And if they're wanting to live their single life, it's extremely difficult for you as a human being to wrap your mind around, well, they're not with me anymore. We still hang out. We still talk, but they're going out with these other people. And then when you call them on it, what are they going to say? Well, I'm single. Well, you broke up with me. Well, you broke, right? And that's when they know they got you. When you go no contact, you're like, look, enjoy being single, do your thing. I accept that. I don't like it, but I'm going to move forward. I'm done. This bus ain't coming back around for this bus stop. We're done. That's attractive. It's powerful, and it's not guaranteed. So that's the hardest part for people. It's like, well, if I do that, they'll come back, right? No, not necessarily. But here's the crazy thing. If they don't come back during no contact, they probably weren't anyways. So at least you escape with your dignity and feel good about yourself a year later. What's the alternative to that? Well, I'll stay in the gray area, right? And then once they meet someone else and they tell me they're really done and I really have closure and I really know what's up, then maybe I'll go no contact. Doesn't work that smoothly because then someone feels cheated because they go, well, this whole time we've been seeing each other. Now, the flip side of that is you can be the person that drops off the face of the earth, disappears and goes, yeah, I'm not going to be in the gray area. I'm not going to be the backup. I'm not going to be your validation. I'm done. And it's not because I hate you. It's not because I don't love you anymore. It's because this isn't working and negotiations are off. And that's it. Now, saying that, my feelings aren't involved. It's easy for me to talk like this. That's why I would highly recommend, if you're having trouble with this, to book a live session at rightmac.com and talk about it. It's what you got to do, or else you get caught in these situations over and over again, because you've got to be reassured that you're doing the right thing. And the other way to do that is what I just said. What's the alternative? Right? What's the alternative? So we got 7 on deck. The Truth of Love, The Great Clutch. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. If anyone has any questions about their relationship, about their breakup, go ahead and put them in the chat. If someone wants to come on live, I do have some time today. If not, that's okay. We can keep this one short. But these points that I made right here, instead of writing a book or being long-winded, that's it. That's it. You put yourself in these situations, because a lot of people, well, if no contact, well, if this, it's like, go through these things on this side right here. Negotiations are off. I'm done. Same negative results and patterns. Have you ever been in a relationship or you ever been in a job? It's like, damn, it's the same thing, man. We're coming to the same brick wall. Same thing over and over again. Whether you like it or not, that's part of their character. That's how they ride. That's how they do a relationship. That's how they handle conflict. It's just not going away. A client of mine recently who got back with his ex about a year ago. He came to me 2 years ago, did a lot of work. When she came back, we even did a little bit of couples work, and it was all right. They broke up again recently. Okay. And he's done. He's done. because the second time it's just the same repeated stuff that they had the first time, and he's just exhausted. And I wouldn't even say that it's necessarily all her fault. They're just not compatible. And so sometimes you get to a point, and that's what it is. It's like when you go into a long-term relationship for 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes you just realize, man, we're not as compatible as I thought. And that's where you get exhausted. The other things, the other narratives in relationships is just you're too young and you want to explore your other options. You might be moving to a new country, all these other things. Those are different scenarios. But when you get back together, sometimes you get back together and you're like, same stuff again. You're drinking again. You're doing these bad things again. You're not coming home on the weekends again. And then, I'm going to try. So that's when it goes back to that fighting for the relationship. It sounds good, sounds romantic. It sounds like, I'm doing this in the name of love. But the reality is there any progress? Or is the same shit happening? Or is someone just telling you what you want to hear to keep you on the line? It's very common. It's very common. But when you break it down like that, and I would say when you go into no contact, prepare yourself for it. Not everyone's built for it. Because a lot of people are built for, I never give up. That doesn't, have someone that has that statement where they go, I never give up. And I always work hard for what I want. Really difficult for people like that to go into no contact because they feel like they're abandoning who they are. They got to do more work. They got to stay with it. They got to never quit. Right? And so it can be very counterintuitive. So you got to set your mind to it. Where other people out there, you know what people are the best? And put this in the comments and live stream if you guys are out there or watching this later on. Who do you think is the best at going no contact? Even if they're hurt, even if deep down inside they're crying every night in the shower, who do you think is the best at just going no contact? And everyone knows someone like this in their circle or sphere of influence, or friends, family, or colleagues. They know 1 or 2 people like this. It doesn't mean it's easier for them. It just means that they can do it. They could never call you again. They can never contact you again. What kind of person is it, you think? People who have a purpose outside the relationship can be. I'm thinking of another type, but that could be applied to a clutch. Sure. Can you give me a specific example of what you mean by that? People have a purpose outside the relationship. So you mean like a job? Like a career that's so important? Maybe. The other one that someone might say, and this isn't mine, but would be someone that has a lot of other things going good in their life. Like they make good money, they're in great shape, they have a great family life, so they can move on easier. Actually, those people, it's not easy for them. If they have a great family life and they have great family ties and they have great, strong relationships, it's really hard for them to let go of a relationship because they're used to relationships working out. They're used to relationships being worked through. So to them, it's kind of foreign. Highly social people, career-focused, big network. Could be. In some cases, those people have a lot of trouble with the idea that if they're highly social, why doesn't this person want to call me when I go no contact? Those people would definitely have more options on the weekends. The alternative, they don't process the emotions and they deal with a depression lag. Could be that. I wouldn't say it that way, but I know what you mean. But this one, I've known people like this, and when they have to step up to no contact, it's like a declaration statement, like, this is who I am. This is what they do. And if you look at their life and their stories that they tell you about their life, you're like, oh, they've actually done no contact, but not in relationships. So think about that for a minute. I've known a couple individuals over my lifetime of 40 plus years that if you do them wrong in their eyes, right? Because that's an opinion. At work, as a family member, something gets said, something's out of pocket, something, they'll delete you. They'll never talk to you again. And you know, people like, I never talked to my cousin. I never talked to my buddy in high school because he stole my Walkman. And someone will be like, oh, you never, no, I'm done. Once you cross me, I'll never talk to you again. They've done that once or twice when they were young. And so now it's like, that's who I am. I know a couple of people like this. And guess what? They end up lonely. And they end up finding ways to keep proving how tough they are and how wrong you were, instead of talking it out and going through it. They're dug in and they're never wrong. They'll never admit they're wrong. And they've done it with multiple people and their friends and family that they didn't call it no contact, but they just said, oh, I never talked to them. And if someone does X, Y, Z to me, or someone does this, it's very easy for me to just cut them off. I've had it in coaching sessions where someone says to me, oh, she told me to. When I'm done, I'm done. And then she told me in her last relationship of 15 years, she never talked to him again on the last. So she has it in her head, that's who I am, that's what I do, I'm going to be able to do it again, no problem. Those people, it doesn't mean that it's easier for them to process the emotion or feel good about it, but it's easier for them to not make that phone call, to not make that text, to not make that email, because to them, I'm not trying. And what they do, no matter what the case, they build the case that you did something wrong, and they won't listen to your point of view. You're wrong. You're wrong. And I've established that, and I'll never talk to you again. And it can be, ironically, well, if you're not going to fight for the relationship, that means you never cared. That's a great example. And the person's like, well, if fighting for the relationship means that you can go out and be on a dating app and be single, then I'm not up for that. Well, then I'll never talk to you again. So those kinds of people, they usually have a little breadcrumbs of doing that to other people in different facets of life. Jobs, friends, whatever. And you'll see it. They'll be like, oh, I never talked to that person again. Those people, they end up over time having a very small friend group. And even within that friend group, you better be careful, because if you think that you're special to them and you guys got this bond, or you're really cool with them, you've known them for years, just do one thing that rubs them the wrong way and they get dug in, never call you again. Does anyone know anyone like that has nothing to do with no contact? Those people, when no contact comes into play, they're like, that's what I do. And there's some people that do it. Oh, I've had 3 relationships, every single time I've never talked to them again. Because that's what they do. And that's why when you go into it, you got to have your reasons. For me, you're dating other people, you got to write like we broke up. I think that's a reason to be in no contact. I'm going to compete. I'm going to maybe catch you on a day that you had a bad date. For me, no bueno for that. Some other people are like, oh, you know what? Well, I'll still fight for it. Okay. That's okay. That's your values, rules, and regulations. That's completely fine. Just know that don't do that for a long time, because the longer you do that, you're just allowing that person to wean themselves off the relationship. Ironically, highly social people, Clutch, in my opinion, career focused, if someone no contacts them, it's odd, uncomfortable, and they need to know why, because they're so used to being social. They're so used to having a big network. Dare I say they're a likable person. The other people that have a lot of trouble with it are people that it's never happened to them before. I've had a few female clients that are used to catpawing guys around, playing with them. You know, one woman I remember, she was a doctor. I'll just say in Europe. Highly successful, fairly attractive, and she laughingly told me she's got guy friends that she knows are yearning for her or want her, and she's like, I'm comfortable with just keeping them as friends. And she was kind of laughing. And what happened to her was that she was dating or seeing a guy for a while, and he was a little mysterious, and she was just always used to being chased and getting what she wants. And this particular guy, I don't even think she wanted a relationship, because this was a case where her career came first. Very confident individual, very intelligent, very confident, and very into her career. So she was the one that was used to telling guys like, yeah, this isn't going to work or this or that. So the first time she got no contact or a guy that just kind of blew her off, in that sense, very hard for her to process. She didn't chase. She went to writemac.com and booked a session and talked about it for 2.5 hours and aired it out. But it was hard. And what no contact also does is it strains away the time you'd spend trying to fix something that's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be the same. And it gets you in that zone of moving towards moving on. And really the finish line should be where I don't care about this relationship so much anymore. Starting to enjoy life again, and it takes time. That's the hardest part, is that there will be pain. It will hurt. And the other person will hurt too. I've seen that firsthand. They tend to break down. You mean the people that are easy to shut someone out? And it's kind of funny, because if you look at your life, and when you've, outside of just a breakup, or when you were a kid in elementary school and you ignore people, you fully ignore them, it's really hard for a lot of people. If you ignored your teacher, if you ignored your mom, if you ignored anyone, it's really hard to be ignored. And that's why the greatest punishment man can have is what? What's the greatest punishment that's given to man besides death, which might be worse? If you were getting ignored by friends or family regularly, it would eat you up. And it's not being done to hurt, it's to show your value. But really, the greatest, to me, would be solitude confinement. Right? Now, if someone's going around getting attention from other men and women, you got to accept that. You got to accept that. And by accepting that, go, well, I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring and fight for this, because we've already been together for 3 or 4 years. This is like 3 steps back from me. It's hard. It's really hard. But the hardest things to do are the right things to do, and they have the biggest payoff. Because a year or 2 years later, you going through that hard part, it's better. Yeah, it's a huge reality check. And I didn't realize that, Clutch, till I was older, though, that how you really look at people's relationships. And I'm saying like friendships or working relationships, not just romantic relationships, we want to call it that, but like how much when people divulge and share more with you, which is part of getting closer. You know, you go on, I've had a few jobs where I've had a regular lunch friend where you go to lunch. How much do you learn about that person having an hour lunch, I don't know, for a year, 2 or 3 times a week, right? About their family, what they do, how they go about things. And they surprise you sometimes about how they handle things. And what you don't consider when you're younger is like, could they do that to me? I mean, I remember there's a friend of mine that, you know, went to lunch a lot and talked, and he's a very good salesman, very professional, you know, squeaky clean person. And out of nowhere, he's telling me about this shady deal that he did with money and stealing. And I was just like, you did that? It's kind of, yeah, man, I just made some extra money. And I was like, now looking back, just put that in your back pocket when people tell you that. And just when you think like yourself, well, they could probably steal from me too. Just be careful. What someone does to other people, they'll do to you too, if the circumstances are right. All right, folks, I just wanted to step on for a little bit and talk about this because this is something that's come up a few times in the last month in coaching. And I just wanted to push this home. No contact versus fighting for the relationship, because I get it. And sometimes when you don't dissect things, when you don't break them down, like I just did right now, you're kind of just going through the motions and being very reactive and not realizing and taking time to reflect on what your actual actions are doing and where they're headed. And that's why when you get to a point and you start to, you book a session with myself or someone else out there and you break down what's been going on, it doesn't necessarily mean you get what you want and they come back, but you can get more clear on where things are at. And there's a lot of value in that. And that'll get you towards the place where you can accept the reality of the situation. Right? So I hope that helps you. Book a session at rightmac.com if you like. If you don't, that's just fine. Clutch, thanks for chiming in today. The 6 that were on deck, all the best. It is curtains.